Hey there, folks. How's everyone doing today? Yo, before we dive into this wild story, I just gotta check in with y'all. How's your day been treating you? You feeling good? Stressed? Maybe dealing with some family drama of your own? Whatever it is, I want you to know I see you, and you're not alone in this crazy ride called life. Real talk, before we get into this, do yourself a favor. Go grab yourself a nice cup of coffee, maybe some tea if that's more your vibe. Get comfy on your couch, put your feet up, and just take a moment to breathe. This story's gonna be a journey, so you might as well settle in with something warm to sip on while we unpack this absolute chaos together. Trust me, you're gonna need that comfort drink for what's coming. The golden child versus the forgotten daughter. Growing up in suburban Toronto, I learned pretty early on that life isn't fair, but I never expected my own mom to be the one teaching me that lesson every single day. My older sister, Melissa, was what you'd call the golden child. And I mean that literally. She had these gorgeous blonde curls that bounced when she walked, these piercing blue eyes that could stop traffic, and this confidence that came from knowing she was the favorite from day one. Me? I'm the brunette with brown eyes. Average height, average everything. Not ugly, not stunning, just there. Mom never let me forget it either. Emma, why can't you dress more like your sister? She'd say at least twice a week. Melissa, show your sister how to do her makeup properly. It was constant. Every family dinner, every holiday gathering, every single interaction somehow became a comparison between me and my perfect older sister. Here's a question for you guys watching. Have you ever been compared to a sibling or family member? How did that make you feel? Drop a comment below because I want to know I'm not the only one who's dealt with this kind of thing. The worst part? Melissa ate it up. She'd roll her eyes whenever I asked for help, tell me I was hopeless, and then go right back to being mom's little princess. The dynamic in our house was toxic as hell, but I didn't have the vocabulary to express that back then. I just knew that something felt deeply wrong about how invisible I was in my own family. Dad? Yeah, he was around, but he was one of those guys who just checked out. He'd sit in his lazy boy watching hockey night in Canada, nursing his Molson, and pretending not to notice when mom would tear me down at the dinner table. I think he convinced himself that staying neutral meant he wasn't part of the problem. Spoiler alert. It absolutely made him part of the problem. The turning point, or maybe I should say the breaking point, came during my senior year of high school. I'd been dating this guy named Tyler for about 8 months. He wasn't anything special, honestly. He played junior hockey, worked at Canadian Tire on weekends, and had this basic Tim Hortons coffee order that should have been my first red flag. But he was my boyfriend, and I thought I loved him. Then Melissa slept with him. Not because she liked him. She'd literally told me multiple times that she thought he was basic and not even cute. She did it because she could, because she wanted to remind me that even when I had something that was mine, she could take it away whenever she felt like it. When I found out and confronted mom about it, you know what she said? Emma, honey, you need to let it go. What's done is done. Don't make this into a bigger deal than it needs to be. That was the moment I realized my own mother didn't give a damn about me. Not really. Melissa could have burned down our house and mom would have blamed me for leaving matches around. Education, my only escape route. Here's where the story takes a turn though. See, being the ignored kid meant I had a lot of free time. While Melissa was out partying at Queen's Quay or hitting up clubs on King Street with her fake ID, I was hitting the books. Hard. I graduated high school with a 96% average. I got accepted to McGill University in Montreal with a full academic scholarship. Tuition, residence, books, everything covered. It was my golden ticket out of that toxic house, and I was so pumped to tell my family. The night I got the acceptance letter, I practically ran home from school. I burst through the door of our Scarborough townhouse, waving the envelope in the air like it was a lottery ticket. Mom, Dad, I got into McGill. Full ride. Dad looked up from his recliner. That's great, kiddo, he mumbled, then went back to watching the Leafs lose another game. Mom didn't even look up from her phone, just kept scrolling through Facebook or whatever. Complete silence. I stood there like an idiot, waiting for something, congratulations, a hug, hell, even just eye contact. Nothing. Then mom got up and walked right past me into the kitchen. She ignored me for the next week straight. Wouldn't answer when I asked her questions. Wouldn't look at me during dinner. Acted like I was a ghost in my own home. So here's what I want to know from you guys. When you accomplish something big and the people who are supposed to love you don't celebrate with you, how do you handle that? Because that moment crushed me in ways I'm still working through. Let me know in the comments. I later found out why mom was so pissed. She'd promised Melissa that she'd pay for her entire university education at Western, but she'd told me, years earlier, before I even started high school, that I'd have to figure it out on my own because Melissa's the oldest and she deserves it more. Mom was mad because my scholarship made her look bad. I'd achieved something Melissa never could, and it shattered her narrative that Melissa was the successful, special one. That night, I wrote in my journal until sunrise. I made myself a promise. I was going to channel every ounce of pain, every moment of rejection, every comparison into becoming so successful that nobody could ever ignore me again. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted to prove to myself that I mattered. Building my own life in Montreal. McGill was exactly the fresh start I needed. I threw myself into my commerce degree, made actual friends who valued me, and discovered that I was really good at financial analysis and strategic planning. Like, scary good. By the time I graduated, I had multiple job offers. I accepted a position at a major investment firm in downtown Montreal, starting at $85K right out of the gate. Within 3 years, I was pulling in 6 figures and had been promoted twice. I bought a beautiful condo in Griffintown with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the St. Lawrence River. I started traveling. Paris, Tokyo, Barcelona. I bought myself designer bags and treated myself to nice dinners because nobody else was going to do it for me. Meanwhile, Melissa's life was, well, a disaster. She'd flunked out of Western after 2 years, shocking absolutely nobody, except Mom, who insisted it was just a rough patch. She got pregnant by some random guy she'd been dating for like 3 months, some dude named Chad, who worked at a vape shop and had entrepreneur in his Instagram bio. They tried to make it work. They failed spectacularly. Then they had another kid. Because apparently making poor decisions once wasn't enough. I saw Melissa maybe twice a year at family gatherings, Thanksgiving and Christmas, usually at Mom and Dad's place in Scarborough. She'd show up with her kids, Carter 10 and Mason 7, and her deadbeat baby daddy, and they'd make a mess of everything while Mom cooed over how blessed she was to have grandchildren. Melissa never missed an opportunity to take shots at me, though. "Nice purse, Em. Is that a knockoff from Pacific Mall?" she said one Christmas, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Where'd you get that outfit? Winner's clearance rack?" She'd snicker at Thanksgiving. One year, literally as I walked in the door, she looked me up and down and said, "I see you're still dressing like a stuck-up bitch. Must be nice having no one to dress down for." She'd say this stuff right in front of her kids, too. Carter and Mason would just stare at the floor, clearly uncomfortable, while their mom trashed their aunt for no reason. Question for y'all. Is it just me, or is it wild that people will tear down their own family members out of pure jealousy? What causes someone to become that toxic? I'm genuinely curious what you think. Comment below. I stopped trying to have a relationship with Melissa years ago. We were connected on Instagram and Facebook, but that was it. We didn't text, didn't call, didn't interact unless forced to at family events. So you can imagine my absolute shock when, on a random Saturday morning in June, my doorbell rang and I opened it to find Carter and Mason standing on my doorstep with overnight bags. The doorstep dump. I was in my pajamas, hair in a messy bun, coffee in hand, enjoying my first lazy morning in weeks. I had just wrapped a brutal project at work and was looking forward to doing absolutely nothing. Then I opened my door to 2 confused kids holding Spider-Man backpacks. Carter? Mason? What are you guys doing here? Carter, the older one, looked up at me with these big brown eyes. "Mom said you're watching us. She's going on vacation." "Vacation? What? For how long?" "She said 8 weeks. Mason piped up, his gap-toothed smile somehow making this insane situation seem innocent. 8 weeks. I pulled out my phone and started calling Melissa immediately. It went straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. On the 11th try, she finally picked up. "What the hell, Melissa?" "Oh good, they made it." Her voice was flat, unbothered. "Listen, Emma, I need you to watch them while I'm away." "Away? Away where? We haven't spoken in months and you just drop your kids off at my place without even asking me? It's only 2 months. Stop being dramatic. I'm calling CPS right now. I'm literally Googling the number as we speak. You can't just abandon your kids." There was a pause. Then Melissa's voice changed. It got low and mean, with this edge that made my blood run cold. "You do that, and I'll call your work. I'll tell them you're off your meds for your bipolar disorder, that you're having episodes, that you're unstable and dangerous." My heart stopped. I do take medication for bipolar disorder. I have for years, and I'm very stable because I'm actually compliant with my treatment. But Melissa was threatening to lie about it, to make it sound like I was having psychotic breaks at work. My job was everything to me. I'd built my entire identity around being successful, reliable, and professional. The thought of my employer thinking I was mentally unstable terrified me. "You wouldn't. Try me, sis. Either watch my kids or lose everything you've worked for. Your choice." She hung up. I stood there, phone in hand, staring at these 2 little boys who had absolutely no idea what their mother had just done, trying to get help. And failing. I called Mom next. Surely, she would see how messed up this was. "Mom," Melissa dropped Carter and Mason off without warning. "She's gone for 2 months and expects me to just watch them. This is insane. Emma, stop being selfish. Your sister needs help, and family helps family." "Family? When has she ever been family to me? When has she ever helped me? She's going through a tough time." "I don't care. She can't just abandon her kids. I have a life, Mom. I have a trip planned. I'm supposed to fly to Vancouver in 3 weeks to meet my boyfriend's family. You'll figure it out. Your sister needs you right now." "What about what I need?" Silence. Then, "You've always been so dramatic, Emma. Just watch the boys. It's not that hard." I wanted to scream. Instead, I told Mom to come over immediately because I needed her help figuring this out. When she showed up an hour later, she looked at me with the same cold expression she'd worn my entire childhood. We sat in my living room, me on my gray sectional, her in my accent chair, the boys in the guest room playing on their phones. "Mom, where is Melissa actually going? What kind of vacation is this important?" Mom's face twitched. She knew something. "Tell me the truth." "Fine. She's been seeing someone. Someone who's flying her out." "Flying her out where?" "Dubai." "Dubai? For 8 weeks?" "He's wealthy, Emma. He's taking care of her." It clicked. Is this a sugar daddy situation? Mom didn't deny it, just looked away. I lost it. Are you kidding me right now? Melissa abandoned her kids to fly to Dubai for some rich guy? And you think that's okay? She deserves happiness. She deserves to raise her own children. She's a mother. You don't understand what it's like to struggle. I struggled my entire childhood because you made me. Because you decided one daughter was worth loving and the other wasn't. Mom stood up. You've always been jealous of your sister. You've never been as pretty or as special as her, and you can't handle it. The words hit me like a slap. Then she said, no matter how much money you make or how nice your condo is, you'll always just be the ugly duckling. You were born ugly, and you'll die ugly. I stood up too, shaking with rage. Get out of my house. I'm not going anywhere. Get out! I moved toward her, trying to guide her to the door, and she shoved me. Hard. I stumbled backward into my coffee table, and my favorite vase, a beautiful hand-blown glass piece my boyfriend had brought me from his trip to Japan, crashed to the floor and shattered into pieces. I stared at the broken glass, and something inside me broke too. I started screaming at Mom to leave, threatening to call the cops, completely losing control. I'm sure the boys heard everything from the other room, and I felt terrible about that, but I was having a full mental breakdown. Eventually, Mom left, but the damage was done. Real talk, guys, have you ever had a moment where you realized your parent was never going to change? Where you finally saw them for who they really were? That clarity is painful, but it's also necessary. Let me know your thoughts. Bonding with my nephews. After Mom left, I sat on my couch and cried for a solid 20 minutes. Then I heard a small voice. Aunt Emma? Are you okay? Carter was standing in the doorway, Mason peeking out from behind him. They both looked terrified. I wiped my face and tried to smile. Yeah, buddy. I'm okay. Just a lot going on. You guys hungry? Their faces lit up. Can we get pizza? Absolutely. I ordered 2 large pizzas from St. Hubert, and we had a little competition to see who could eat the most slices. Mason won with 4 slices, which was honestly impressive for a 7-year-old. After dinner, I set them up in my living room with my PlayStation. They were shocked when I knew how to play Call of Duty. You play video games? Carter asked, his eyes wide. Yeah. I'm actually pretty good. Watching them laugh and relax made me realize something. These kids had been dropped off at a stranger's house, because let's be real, I was basically a stranger to them, and they were handling it with so much grace. The next day, I noticed their clothes were all too small. Their socks had holes. Mason's shirt had a stain that looked like it had been there for months. Boys, wanna go shopping? Their faces lit up again, and my heart broke a little. At Fairview Point Claire Mall, they were like different kids. Running around, excited about everything, asking if they could try stuff on. I told them they could get whatever they wanted. I bought them entire new wardrobes, jeans that actually fit, hoodies from brands they liked, new sneakers. By the end, I dropped probably $1,500, but I didn't care. Then I saw them looking at the Nintendo Switch display in EB Games. You guys want one? We can't. Mom said they're too expensive, Carter said quietly. Well, I'm not your mom. And I say you can have one. Each. I bought them each a Switch with a few games. When I handed them the bags, they both started crying. Why are you being so nice to us? Mason asked through tears. Because you're my boys, and you deserve to be happy. Carter cried harder. I'm mad at Mom for keeping us away from you. In the car on the way home, he opened up. Mom yells at us a lot. She says we're annoying. Dad doesn't really talk to us much. He's always on his phone or gone. My heart shattered. That night, I cooked them a proper dinner, spaghetti carbonara, garlic bread, Caesar salad, and we ate together at my dining table. They told me about school, their friends, their favorite YouTube channels. I realized I loved these kids. Like, genuinely loved them. And I wanted to protect them from the life they'd been living. The plan and the recording. Later that night, I called my boyfriend, Marcus. He lives in Vancouver, and we'd been doing long distance for 2 years. He's originally from BC, works in tech, and is one of the kindest people I've ever met. I told him everything, the doorstep drop-off, the blackmail threat, Mom's visit, all of it. Your sister is literally committing crimes. Child abandonment, blackmail, extortion. You need evidence. Evidence? Call her again. Get her to repeat the threat about your job. Record it, then you'll have proof. Marcus always knew what to do. It's one of the reasons I love him. I called Melissa. It wasn't hard to get her talking. She's always been arrogant and couldn't resist bragging about having power over me. So you're really gonna watch my kids like a good little sister? She taunted. I don't have a choice, apparently. Exactly. Because if you call CPS or try anything, I'll destroy your career. I'll tell everyone you're a psycho who stopped taking her meds. Nobody will believe you over me. Even if it's not true? Who cares if it's true? I know your job is everything to you. You're nothing without it. You'd go right back to being a loser. Every word was recorded. After I hung up, I called CPS and filed a report. I explained the situation, the abandonment, the blackmail, everything. The agent listened carefully. Ma'am, we'll open an investigation immediately. Your sister will be contacted. I also sent them the recording. Then I made the mistake of telling Mom about the CPS call. She hung up on me immediately, and I knew she was calling Melissa right away to warn her. I'd just declared war on my sister, and there was no going back. The work meeting. The next morning, my supervisor's assistant emailed me. Can you come in for a meeting at 10 a.m.? It's urgent. My stomach dropped. I walked into that meeting knowing exactly what it was about. My 2 supervisors were there, plus a senior director I'd never met. Emma, we received a concerning call from a family member of yours. They informed us you have a serious mental health condition and that you're not taking your prescribed medication. They're worried you might have an episode at work. I pulled out my folder. I'd spent the entire evening preparing. I do have bipolar disorder, and I take medication for it. Here's a letter from my psychiatrist confirming my diagnosis, treatment plan, and medication compliance. Here's documentation from my pharmacy showing I've never missed a prescription pickup in 5 years. Here's a letter from my therapist confirming my stability. And here's the recording of my sister threatening to make false claims to my employer as blackmail. I played the recording. The room went silent. My supervisor cleared his throat. Emma, we're so sorry. This is clearly a family matter being weaponized against you. We have no concerns about your performance or stability. In fact, you just had an excellent quarter. They apologized multiple times and closed the matter immediately. I walked out of that office grinning like an idiot. Then I called Melissa. Hey sis, just wanted to let you know your little plan failed. My bosses didn't believe you because I had actual medical documentation proving you're a liar. Nice try though. She started screaming, calling me every name in the book. Then she said, I'm on the next flight home. You're gonna regret this. The home invasion. 3 days later, at 8 a.m., someone started pounding on my door. Not knocking, pounding. I opened it to find Melissa, Mom, and this absolutely massive dude, like 6'5", easily 280 pounds, built like he bench pressed cars for fun. Before I could say anything, the guy put his hand on my shoulder and shoved me to the ground. Hard. The three of them walked into my condo like they owned the place. What the hell? Who is that? I screamed from the floor. The guy didn't speak English. Just Russian. The boys came out of the guest room, sleepy and confused. Mom, Carter said, get their stuff. We're leaving, Melissa barked at the giant Russian guy. No! I scrambled to my feet and tried to get between him and the boys, but he was too strong. He grabbed both boys, one under each arm, and started carrying them toward the door. Aunt Emma, Mason screamed, reaching for me. I tried to grab Carter, and that's when the guy grabbed my head and slammed it into the wall. Everything went blurry. I collapsed. The last thing I saw was Melissa standing over me. Then she spit in my face. They left with my boys. The aftermath and police. I had a full-blown panic attack on my floor. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Just kept seeing the boys' faces as they were carried away. When I finally pulled myself together, I called 911. The operator was incredibly helpful. I gave them every detail. The description of the Russian guy, the license plate, which I somehow remembered perfectly, descriptions of what everyone was wearing. Ma'am, we already have an open CPS case for this family. We'll dispatch units immediately. For the next 4 hours, I couldn't do anything except pace my apartment and stare at my phone. Finally, they called back. We located the vehicle. 3 squad cars responded. The male suspect became violent and assaulted multiple officers. He was shot in the leg after attacking an officer. Your sister also physically resisted arrest. Both are in custody. And the boys? They're safe. They're with CPS right now. I tried to get CPS to let me talk to the boys, but they wouldn't. Different department, different procedures, blah blah blah. All I knew was that my nephews were with strangers, and I was powerless to help them. Hey guys, quick question before we continue. What would you do in this situation? Would you try to get custody, or would you let CPS handle it? This is a genuine question because I struggled with this decision. Let me know what you think. The Australia trip dilemma. So here's the thing. In the middle of all this chaos, I still had my trip to Vancouver scheduled. I was supposed to fly out in a week to finally meet Marcus's family in person. We'd been dating for 2 years, long distance. His parents had never met me. This was a huge deal. If I canceled, I'd lose thousands in non-refundable bookings. Plus, I'd look completely unreliable to his family before even meeting them. But how could I leave when my nephews were in foster care? I spent the entire week crying randomly, unable to focus on anything. My work was understanding, but I was a mess. Marcus kept telling me, you can't help the boys right now. CPS has them. You flying to meet my family won't change that. Come, we'll deal with everything when you get back. So I went. And honestly, it was exactly what I needed. Seeing Marcus at the airport, feeling his arms around me after months apart, reminded me that I had a life outside this nightmare. His family was incredible, warm, welcoming, and genuinely excited to meet me. His mom made this amazing salmon dinner, and we went on hikes around North Vancouver. Marcus took me to this hidden waterfall near Squamish where we went skinny dipping, and it was honestly one of the most romantic moments of my life. For 2 weeks, I let myself be happy. But I knew when I got home, the real battle was waiting. The legal war begins. When I landed back in Montreal, I went straight to the police station to press charges against Melissa and Mom for the home invasion. I also learned that CPS had officially removed the boys from Melissa's custody and were taking her to court. What does that mean exactly? I asked the CPS agent. It means your sister will have to petition the court to get her children back. And if another suitable relative comes forward requesting custody, the judge will consider that as well. I knew what I had to do. I hired the best family lawyer in Montreal and filed for full custody of Carter and Mason. The breaking and entering case went to trial first. The day I walked into that courtroom and saw Melissa sitting there with her public defender, I felt nothing but contempt. When the judge mentioned my custody petition, Melissa's face went white. "You're trying to take my kids?" she screamed across the courtroom. "Order," the judge demanded. But Melissa had completely snapped. She turned toward me, screamed my name, and lunged at me. She was on me in seconds, clawing at my face, pulling my hair, scratching my neck. The bailiff pulled her off, but not before she bit down on my forearm so hard it broke skin. The bite got infected and I needed antibiotics for 2 weeks. All of this. In front of a judge, her fate was sealed. The long road to victory. The legal battles dragged on for almost 2 years. Melissa ended up with a serious prison sentence. Between the assault charges, child abandonment, blackmail, Attacking officers, contempt of court, and everything else. She stacked up enough time that she wouldn't see freedom for a long time. Mom managed to avoid prison only by testifying against Melissa in court. Watching my mother throw her precious golden child under the bus to save herself was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. After Mom's testimony, I cut her off completely, changed my number, blocked her on everything. I was done. The custody battle for the boys got complicated when their father's family started fighting me for custody too. It dragged things out even longer. But I didn't give up. I showed up to every court date. I provided character references, financial statements, home evaluations, psychological evaluations. Everything the court asked for, I delivered. My lawyer was brilliant. He painted a picture of a stable, financially secure, loving aunt who desperately wanted to provide a good home for these boys. Melissa's lawyer tried to argue that I was too career-focused and wouldn't have time for the kids. My lawyer countered that I had the financial flexibility to hire help when needed, worked from home 2 days a week, and had already bonded deeply with the boys during their time with me. The judge asked me directly, "Miss Chen, why do you want custody of these children?" I looked right at him. Because I love them. Because they deserve better than what they've had. Because I know what it's like to grow up feeling unwanted, and I refuse to let that happen to them. They're my boys, Your Honor, and I'm not giving up on them. 3 months later, the judge ruled in my favor. Full custody, legal and physical. Coming home. The day I picked up Carter and Mason from their foster home, I was shaking. I decorated their bedrooms in my condo. Carter's in a cool blue and gray sports theme. Mason's in bright colors with superhero posters. I'd bought them new bedding, desks for homework, bookshelves, everything. When they walked into my place and saw their rooms, they both started crying. Mason ran to his room and immediately found his little stuffed dog that I'd saved from when they'd stayed before. He hugged it to his chest, then turned and ran into my arms, sobbing. Carter joined us a second later, wrapping his arms around both of us. "I knew it, Aunt Emma," Carter said through tears. "I knew you'd come back for us." We stood there in my hallway, the three of us, crying and hugging. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt like I had a real family. Life now. It's been 6 months since the boys moved in permanently. It hasn't been easy. Carter has nightmares sometimes. Mason gets anxious about me leaving. They both have trauma from their childhood that we're working through with a family therapist, but we're making it work. Carter's doing way better in school now that he has stability. Mason joined a soccer league and loves it. We have family dinners every night. We play video games on weekends. We take trips to Toronto to visit Marcus, who the boys absolutely adore. I cut way back on work hours. I'm still successful and still making good money, but the boys come first now, always. Mom has tried reaching out a few times through relatives. I ignore every attempt. She made her choice a long time ago. Melissa writes letters from prison sometimes. They go straight in the trash, unopened. Marcus proposed 3 months ago, and we're planning a wedding for next summer. The boys will be in the wedding party. We're looking at houses in the suburbs with big yards where they can play. My life looks nothing like I thought it would, but it's so much better. Final question for you guys, and I really want to hear from you on this one. What's the biggest lesson you've taken from this story? Is it about family, karma, standing up for yourself? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Reflections on karma and cause-effect. You know what's wild? Looking back at everything, I can see so clearly how every action led to a consequence. My mom favoring Melissa? That turned Melissa into an entitled nightmare who thought she could do anything without consequences. Melissa sleeping with my boyfriend in high school? That taught me I couldn't trust my family. Mom ignoring my scholarship? That motivated me to build a successful career. Melissa threatening my job? That forced me to gather evidence and go to the authorities. Her breaking into my home? That got her arrested and eventually put in prison. Cause and effect. Karma. Whatever you want to call it. The universe has a funny way of balancing things out. My sister spent her whole life thinking her looks would carry her through everything. She never developed skills, work ethic, or basic human decency because she never had to. And in the end, those looks didn't matter. The judge didn't care that she was pretty. The jury didn't care. The law doesn't care. Meanwhile, I spent my whole life developing actual skills and character because I had to. And those things, those saved me. Those got me my career, my independence, my ability to fight for my nephews. What I want you guys to take away from this is simple. The way you treat people matters. The choices you make matter. You might not see the consequences immediately, but they're coming. Good or bad, they're coming. Treat people with kindness. Work hard. Build real skills and character. Don't rely on shortcuts or manipulation. Because one day, when life gets real, those are the things that will actually matter. A message to anyone dealing with toxic family. If you're watching this and you have a toxic family situation, I see you. I know how hard it is. Growing up feeling unwanted by your own mother? That stuff sticks with you. It affects your relationships, your self-esteem, everything. But here's what I learned. You get to choose your family as an adult. Blood doesn't obligate you to accept abuse. Being related to someone doesn't mean you owe them unlimited chances to hurt you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away. I cut off my mom and sister, and my life got exponentially better. The boys and I have created our own little family, one based on actual love and respect, not manipulation and comparison. If you're in a toxic family dynamic, please consider talking to a therapist. I've been in therapy for 3 years now, and it's changed my life. It helped me recognize that my family's treatment of me wasn't my fault. It helped me set boundaries. It gave me tools to break the cycle. Don't repeat the patterns you grew up with. Be better. Do better. Thank you. All right, guys. That's my story. Thank you so much for sticking around for this whole thing. I know it was long, I know it was heavy, but I appreciate every single one of you who listened. If this story resonated with you, please drop a comment below. Share your own experiences if you feel comfortable. Let's create a community where people know they're not alone in dealing with family drama. Hit that like button if you think karma is real. Subscribe if you want to hear more real-life stories like this. And remember, you're worthy of love, respect, and happiness. Don't let anyone, family included, convince you otherwise. Take care of yourselves out there. Treat people right. And never underestimate the power of standing up for yourself. Peace out, everyone.